Does drawing make you a better person? Part of me wants to say yes, to take this strange, obscure route to say that, yes, drawing will in fact make you a better human. The reality is likely stranger, though. I think giving in to an artistic urge makes you more you. Maybe we as artists are a little like gems found in a mountain stream. At first, without any work, we simply look like another rock. Maybe we are covered in algae, maybe we sting your hand as you grab us due to the cold. But take that stone, polish it, give it some love and some abrasion from sandpaper or a grinder, and something beautiful lies beneath the surface. We become more us when we make things. There is something primal, something terribly natural and human about making things. And for us as artists, if we don't do this, we're not really being ourselves. Welcome to the session. This is another piece from Inktober 2023. This one is golden, a little bit more obscure in the way that I've chosen to represent things, and one that I didn't include in the early renditions of these sketchbook sessions. The idea with this was not to go in a typical way, not to go about making something that was just gold. Part of the reason was the fact that this would be hard to do with black and white, as I've elected to do for pretty much all of the pieces this year. In fact, actually all of the pieces this year. So I decided to go with gold as an alchemical thing. So if you look up gold in alchemy, the old weird ways of turning lead into gold, or turning one substance into another, or making a divine homunculus, you will notice that the symbols in the background match up with that idea. So Andorra here, our little sorceress, is going through some underground dungeon, and she has found some ancient artifice of a people long forgotten, choosing and trying desperately to make gold from other things. This piece was kind of fun. It's more play on composition, which is not my strong suit, so it's been good. All of these little teeny pieces make me give in to composition, make me focus on it. And inevitably, my skills in that area increase. As this was an early piece, this one is one of the ones where we can see her turning from an inanimate, tiny little thing, just a stand-in for us as the observer, to actually being a character. She's looking, and she has some manner of curiosity, but also a little bit of disdain, it looks like, in her glance. Her hair is also not in the ponytails that it becomes later on, and she hasn't found her friend yet. We'll get to that one in a couple sessions. Returning to the metaphor, though, what about the rest of the stones? The rest of the cold, hard stones sitting in that mountain river. Is everyone in that river capable of being polished into something beautiful? I think as humans, yes, for sure. But as for artists, I don't know. I know that many people think that anyone can be an artist, but I'm not truly sure that I agree with that, with the notion that anyone can learn to be artistic or creative. I don't mean this in the negative either, that artists are special and not everybody gets to be one. I just simply don't want to throw my hat in the ring on either side of the issue until I've thought through it thoroughly. And I've thought through it much, but I've not quite come to a conclusion. It's certainly a nice thought that everyone can learn to be creative, that anyone can be an artist, but I'm just not sure. And frankly, if I am a typical artist, which I really hesitate to say, but I'm not sure that I would wish this on someone who doesn't have the same tendencies as me. I have a lot of non-artistic people in my life who are much happier than me, able to actually rest, to take a break from things, to sit and watch TV without breaking down everything they see, able to consume media without a desire or need to make their own. It seems most people can watch a TV show or a movie and go, well, that was cool, I enjoyed that. But we seem to watch a movie and either go, wow, that was just like these 10 other things, or I wonder how they did that, or the worst, which is, I need to go do that now. These traits are certainly not exclusive to artists, but there seems to be something fundamentally different with people who must be creative. And perhaps therein lies a distinction. Maybe artist is just too simple of a word, and craftsperson is demeaning to some people from their individual perspectives. It might just be that this is really, really complicated. And maybe not all artists have the same tendencies that many of us do, the need to make, the compulsion to make. I suppose it doesn't disqualify someone from being an artist if they are indeed creating art, but they can be at peace in their life. Maybe that's what all of us should work toward. But there seems to be a distinct brand of human, brand of person, that is drawn toward making things, that will be unfulfilled and unhappy if they don't make things. And to that group, I belong. And in that sense, I'm not sure that everyone can become that. I think that if you don't have the compulsion to create, I'm not sure you're going to get it. Oh, sure, I think that you can learn to create, you can find joy in creating, you can have a strong desire to create. But if you weren't born with a compulsory nature that pushes you towards creating, or you slowly lose your mind, I'm not sure that you can get that. And I'm not sure you should want to. It definitely doesn't always affect us in a positive way. But what do you think, dear listener? Are artists their own breed of human, a deficient subset of the normal, the elite? Or just people who have fallen into and discovered the ways of the creative from some mountaintop sage? It feels arrogant to me to land on one and proclaim it from the mountaintops, but I'm really curious what all of you think. These are things that sit in the back of my head that I stew on and have for many, many years. I don't know that I'll ever come to a solid conclusion about what I think, and I know for certain that it doesn't particularly matter. But this is part of what it means to be an artist for me. The pulling apart of things constantly, the overthinking, the overprocessing, the overanalyzing. There's a joy in it. I love categorizing things and thinking about complicated, weird facets of what it is to be an artist, what it is to be alive. What I think we can do is return to that initial question. Does drawing make you a better person? Does making art, learning a craft, learning a skill, something that you didn't come into the world having, does that make you a better person? And I would like to take the position, at least for a moment, that yes, it does. For a lot of reasons. In the same capacity as you're going to be a better person and you're going to treat people right and better if you've worked in a hospitality industry. If you have worked at a coffee shop or a grocery store, you have seen the best and worst of humanity. And hopefully that turns you into a better person because you understand what it's like to be treated poorly. Likewise, if you learn a skill, if you learn a craft, you start to understand that all of the people in your life who learned that skill or a compensatory skill had to learn it. They weren't born with that. If you play the violin really proficiently, you probably have an easier time looking at a drawer or a painter and going, I appreciate their skill because I can safely assume that it took about the same amount of time as it did for me to become proficient as it did for them to become proficient. If you don't have a skill that you've put a ton of time into, especially an artistic one, there's a good chance that you look at artists of all types and assume that they were born with talent and born with the ability to do those things. And that's simply not true. Oh, they might have been born with talent, and we've talked about talent versus skill before on this channel. But being born with a talent is not the same as being born with a skill. No one is born with the ability to play the violin, to paint, or to draw. People might be born with a really good sense of timing, with better hand-eye coordination, with better fine motor skills. People might have even been born with eyes that do a much better job naturally of breaking down the world around them and understanding it. But no one comes into this world understanding how to hold a paintbrush. It just might come naturally to some people and not naturally to others. But if you give over the time that is required to learn a skill, an artistic skill, learning to draw, paint, sculpt, make ceramics, whatever it might be, you are going to have a better understanding of your fellow humans. You are going to understand more thoroughly that these are hard-won things. That somebody who learned how to play an instrument or work an artistic medium didn't just put in time, they put in sacrifice. They gave up other things to do that. They had to endure. They have to be of a certain level of resilience just to stick with it long enough. These things are hard. Nobody just jumps into it and has it, even though some people are much more swift in their learning than others. And there's a certain respect. I think now as an artist, especially over the course of the last 3 years, putting so much more time into my artwork, into video editing, into writing both for scripts and for a novel, I have so much more respect for every single author I see who actually published a book. I have so much more respect for every painter, every drawer. I'm way less likely to judge people's artistic level of skill because I have a better understanding of what it takes to be proficient in a skill. In the past, I was very judgmental looking at other people's artwork. I would look at things and immediately I would just go, am I better or am I worse than this person? Sometimes I would even mock internally choices and decisions that they made. I would try to make myself feel better because at the end of the day, I was insecure about my own artistic capacities. I had a lack of understanding of where they were, and I didn't feel good about them. And so I had a tendency to be far more judgmental of other people's work. Nowadays, if I see an artist that my past self would have laughed at, I can actually take the time to understand who they are as a person, as an artist. And I can start to assume that most of the decisions they're making in their art are not a product of a lack of or an amount of skill, but sometimes they're just decisions. It's weird when you're young, you look at somebody's drawing and you just assume that every drawing they produce is the peak level of their skill. As you become an adult, you realize that sometimes people make things that are messy because that's what they want to make. They like the aesthetic. They like the feeling, the emotion that they get out of it or that it gives to someone else. There are so many reasons why an artist may make the decisions that they want to make. And a young, stupid, and ignorant me just assumed it was all a representation of skill. And that's just not the case. So I do think that for me, art has made me a better person. I'm more kind, I'm more humble, I'm more understanding, and I look for things from my fellow human that I wouldn't have cared about when I was younger. And I think a lot of that comes from getting older in general, from having a child, from working a career, but I think a lot of it also comes from learning a skill and realizing how hard it is to learn a skill. So, as if you need any other reason to give in to your artistic urges, take solace in the fact that it will likely make you a better version of you. Not just because you have artistic urges and you have to make things or you're going to slowly go crazy, but because learning a skill is good. It is a noble, honorable thing to do, and it is hard. And most good and honorable things are hard. So keep creating, dear artist. Keep moving forward, and thank you for listening today. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. If you have any comments, questions, any of that kind of stuff, leave it in the comments below. I check every single one of them, and I love hearing from you guys. Well, have a good one, y'all. See you soon.